This video is for you if you'd love to skip the piano lesson blues and jump straight to piano parenting success with these 6 tips. 1. You can become a setup specialist. And I know that it can be hard to take things in if you're new to music making, but I promise you can really help in this area. So don't underestimate the value of honing your child's setup as a first step to success. So taking the time to set up your child's music making corner can be fun and endlessly valuable. Spoiler alert, it doesn't need to be fancy. In James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, he cited how the British cycling team overcame 101 years of missing medals for the acclaimed Tour de France with a radical shift in coaching strategies, starting with small improvements for the basics. One of their first steps, bike seats. This got me thinking about how easy it is for us piano teachers and music parents to forget to double check home setups. Here are some ways you can start strong and boost your child's music making from the start. Is your child seated correctly and at the correct distance? Now, this is a bit of an art. So if you'd like, you could say to your teacher, could you help me with this? So one thing that I love to make sure of is that students are able to sit tall at the instrument. I'll turn myself around for a second. And that when they're reaching for the keys, their elbows aren't dragging them lower. I see my camera's a bit short. So you'll want to have their arms hanging gently by their side and, if possible, their feet firmly planted on the floor. So I will link a video with more details on that, and that is a great place to start. If your child is small, it's very valuable to have a pedal extender or even a small footstool so that they aren't toppling to and fro on the bench. The next is, do you have a music stand at the right height? And I must admit, it's something that I actually see quite often. We get involved in music lessons and we think, oh, I need to grab that music stand if you have a keyboard that doesn't have one. And then months go by and the kids are kind of leaning their books on their keys and trying to read their music. And I get it because I'm a busy mom as well. And sometimes those things just slip past and we don't even realize it. So having a music stand is incredibly important, that it's at the right height for your child to be able to read correctly. The next would be, is your instrument tuned or in good repair if it's a keyboard? And you can always ask your instructor, hey, who do you recommend? Number 2, you can become a resource guru. And I know it's a lot to keep things organized, but this is a really helpful tip, as the more organized your child's resources are and the more accessible their music is, the easier it is to practice. So I always love to think about ways that we can remove barriers to things that we sometimes might feel are hard. So if you are able to, a dedicated sheet music binder for digital resources that are printed out is fabulous. I even sometimes recommend those little clear stickies that you can mark a page that they're working on, so that when they go to practice, they're not like, what song was I even working on? So those little things can make a big difference. Have an online lesson portal. Downloading resources right away after lessons is also helpful. And checking in on, hey, what are your teacher's notes? Or, I wonder what you learned today. And that curiosity can really help with students. Your teacher can also help recommend resources that are at the right level for your child. It's wonderful to encourage those big goal pieces, but be sure to check in with the teacher and say, hey, is this at a great level to nurture growth and yet not have it be so challenging that it creates a lot of obstacles for a child when they're learning? Number 3, you can become a communication rock star. Your teacher is on your side and willing and able to support your child. In our studio, a parent can even say, hey, can I do a lesson takeover and use that lesson time to brainstorm on behalf of my child? Or maybe even come for a mini lesson on something that's challenging for your child and you want to be able to support them a little bit better at home. So a lesson takeover is something fun to do even if your child is booked for something else and you get to sneak in to their lesson time. Need support for home practice? Your teacher is brimming with years of experience nurturing learners at so many different stages, so keeping communication happening is a great way to support your learner and create paths for positive music making. 4, join the struggle. Now, that seems kind of odd because you can probably tell that I'm a pretty upbeat person who expects music lessons can be fun and enjoyable, and I hope learners are having fun at home. However, we all want that. We all want lessons and practice sessions to be full of joy and enthusiasm and all rainbows and unicorns, but sometimes learning is hard. You can be a great music parent by joining the struggle in understanding ways. I was challenged not too long ago by Brene Brown's TED Talk. Brene mentioned the measurable 2 predictors of high hopefulness in people as being perseverance and tenacity, and goes on to say the people who have the highest levels of hope have the most experiences of failure. I had to listen to that twice and then pause to let that sink in. As music educators and parents, it can be easy to buy into that easy, fast, and fun mentality. We have such a deep desire to steer clear of failure ourselves and to shelter our students and children from it as well. In pondering Brene's statements through the presentation, I was so encouraged at the reminder that working alongside students, even through struggle, has the unique opportunity to create in them a spirit of hopefulness. Brene speaks into this further by highlighting that high hopeful people also learn to separate failure from their identity as people. This is a wonderful reminder as you work alongside a child and remind them that we can do hard things together. 5, you can be a wonderful practice enabler. So making progress is a huge motivator for music learners. For progress to happen, checking in at the piano and building a practice toolbox alongside your piano learner will be an essential part in creating music making enthusiasm. Some ideas to support practice can look like brainstorming a practice schedule for when your learner is feeling well rested and able to embrace some creativity. So you can brainstorm, when do they feel their best for learning? What would help them remember to practice? And sometimes working and asking them those questions can also help them feel a bit more autonomy in these choices. You can also ask them, what goals do you have for your music making? Or what song would you like to play? What piece would you like to learn? I admit that this is a delicate balancing act. And there's also times that it's okay to show up at lessons and say, hey, it's been a week, but we're here to learn. And so sometimes I do have a lot of ideas of how to skip the piano practice guilt and do wonderful things at the piano anyways, and I'll link that video in the video description as well. Number 6, performance coach. We all love those shiny moments of piano performing stardom, and it can be tempting to set up all sorts of wonderful opportunities for your child to showcase their growing talent. These opportunities are wonderful learning opportunities and so valuable for students as they learn to share music with others. However, it's important to note that unlike many other activities your child may be involved in, piano lessons require independent practice between lessons to feel well prepared for their next performance. A successful performance starts weeks or even months before they take the stage. If you'd like to learn more ways that you can set your child up for success in their next performance, you can take a look at this video next.